I don't know, I've never been in one, so.
The outside.
I know, I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Okay, all right.
well. You guys have to do yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I mean, if he's going to work with it.
Hey, Scott, I don't know if it's a renewal for the surface water discharge. I know nothing I doing. Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I filled them out before, but not for the city. I don't know why would we have one because of the pond or because of?
Yeah, this is.
I didn't.
This is gonna be. Yeah, so you're exactly right. This isn't like a project surface water.
It's just in general
It's for your.
for our curb and gutters and.
No, it's for the sewer ponds.
Oh,
You know, we were talking, it's gonna expire in 2024.
okay.
So that's this one.
Okay, so that's a new requirement,
So
so
we'll look at this a little closer.
that's, okay. Do you wanna keep that? Or keep it, check, Have Tobias keep it here?
I think he forwarded me a copy.
How's Alan?
I'm good, Butch. How are you?
Good. Cold.
What's
I don't know if
that?
I'm getting cold or,
No,
I'm sitting here with the chill.
oh, you are. Jeez, I hope.
Everybody else has got short sleeve shirts on.
Well, I just,
Knitted shirt and this shirt and this.
it is cool. I hadn't been outside yet today until I just left. I didn't know. It looked sunny out and I walked out and I was like, man, I could use the jacket.
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave it with Tobias. Okay, maybe he got a copy too then.
How much time's left?
Oh, that's gotta be hell.
Oh God, it's gotta
I
be
mean,
hell. Yeah.
I've done stuff that's hell, but
I just have a fear of getting sick. I have such a fear of like, and I suppose they give you like emergency snip scissor things, I suppose, but still. Are you going to the USDS CSU game at the end of the month?
Probably not. Don't know that would be a safe environment for me. I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut.
You just make sure you're sitting in the SDSU section.
I didn't see this many people there.
I should know better.
You should.
So I'll just throw that in my file or do you want?
No, it's city hall.
Okay. I
I
wrote it.
paper work part of it.
Sophie, how are you? You're gonna talk to us tonight? On, what's Sophie gonna, oh, right here. Safe streets and roads. Sorry, Tobias put you at the end of the. Anyway, I think we'll go.
Oh, it'll go fast. She's towards the.
Well, we're getting close to starting.
It's probably a good idea just to put notes on. That way you grab it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. I'll wait till Jana comes back. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get the meeting started. Tobias, if you'd like to do a roll call, please.
Here.
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 Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Short little prayer here. Lord, thank you for the great weather that we've had for our farmers to harvest their crops. We'd ask that you hold the bad weather off till they can get it all harvested. And again, in the last few days, we've had a reminder of how unstable it is and how thankful we should be to all our military, police, everybody that stands at the front lines to keep our freedom. And thank you for our school teachers as they work with all our children. In your name, amen. Is there a motion on the agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is a second? All those in favor,
We gotta
aye?
make an amendment.
Oh, okay.
2 things. Tobias, we just need to clarify, you said,
Yeah, so the Wood Nickel, they applied for special event liquor license months ago. They put down the wrong date.
she's got,
Just to add that date, it was
the fourth,
October 4th, and July should be October 14th. So just to have that.
like, we'll just add that under consent calendar?
Yes.
Okay, and then I want to remove 12C, the first reading of ordinance 335. I kind of want to talk about that a little bit more with Tobias before we put something forward, so I'm going to request to remove that.
So just hold it off for
Yeah,
tonight.
yep.
So, do I ask for a new motion or do we?
I assume that was the motion.
Okay,
Is there a
the
motion?
amended,
Second to the amended.
okay, we got a second to the amended motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That carried. Everybody had a chance to see the old meeting minutes, and is there,
No need to vote on the amended agenda.
oh,
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the
I thought we did that.
amended agenda.
The motion's already on the table.
What?
So Mike
I
and
can-
Alan made
Yeah,
a motion.
the motion's already on there, so
Yeah,
we
they
just
do it.
have to vote for it.
Okay, all those
Oh,
in
I'm sorry,
favor
yeah.
of the amended agenda, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now, a motion to pass the meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
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 And financials, did you have anything now, or you want to wait till it's?
No.
Okay. So is there a motion to pass our financials?
So moved.
I will second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Then our claims, everybody had a chance to read through them and approve them.
Move to approve.
I will second.
Okay, all those in favor of the claims, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Consent calendar items. And, so on the, 7A, that's just changing the date.
It's adding a date, just
Adding
correcting
a
it
date.
so they don't run into trouble when they buy liquor
Okay.
for special events.
And,
The B one is essentially, if Councilman Shooty can't come in, Butch is available, so we can just sign plats so they don't get held up in the office.
when Jacob was here, if he couldn't get here, I'd sign him, and when he was gone, I'd sign him. And now when Eric's on the road, so a lot of people, as Scott well knows, it gets dropped off here and 2 hours later, is it signed yet? So just trying to eliminate having to wait, if somebody's out on the road, that part.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now, we're gonna talk about the city shop. The one thing, that's been done since the last time we talked about it, we made an independent committee of people in town, and Clayton, of course, he's always been in on the drawing, but Dana Milius, Andy Henning, and Jeff Nelson. So people had questions before, so I'll let Jeff or whoever wants to speak from the committee about it. Everybody will get a chance to speak that's on the committee.
Microphone. Yeah, otherwise it won't feed into the audio.
Yeah, well, they won't see
Never
it.
been known to be quiet. Okay, my name is Jeff Nelson. I'm the commercial building official for City of Crooks. I asked to be a part of the committee just because there's things that I could add to what they were doing with the new building. We started meeting, we being Chad Rezak, Andy, Dana, Clayton was involved kind of in the background as we were developing. And we're talking about the program for what the city shop should be. I am an architect by trade, and we've done several city and county shops over the years, and so it was kind of nice to be able to show some stuff as far as things that we had done and then get input from the group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up passing this along to two of the guys to talk about some of the things that were added to the plan. But we met the first time a week and a half ago, and through the course of last week, we went through, I think it was 6 iterations by the time we were finally done and ready to bring something to council about what the shop was. The building itself is 75 by, am I saying that wrong? 70 by 125. It was 120 and we made it 125. It has space for let's see, I'll say these wrong, but Chad and Ginny and, say that louder?
Fred and Jason.
Okay, Fred and Jason to be in there. It has room for expansion on the office side. It has secure storage in it. It has a mezzanine for material storage up above. And then the shop side is for all of the equipment that they currently own and still has some room for other stuff. But I think to talk about some more specifics, I'll turn it over to either Andy or Dana, if you guys want to talk. I can talk all day, but I just drew it, so.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not sure what more to add to it. It's just we tried to make the most efficient use of the space that we could to make sure that, you know, there's going to be more equipment coming for the city. It's going to be needed for sure. The bad part is, you know, it's one of those things you could look retrospect is, you know, right now we're at this cost and in 2 years it's going to add quite a bit more to it. But 3 years ago it would have been $200,000 less or whatever. But it just, the way it's set up, you know, as far as, you know, if you just would decide to, you know, you have an office space that gets secure storage, could eventually be another office thing like that. There's plenty of room in there for expansion. It's separate entrance for if there is public coming in out there that is not coming into the shop, so you don't have to worry about any liability that way. And like I said, we just mainly looked at the efficiency of it for getting equipment in, have an area to actually work on equipment if they need be, or if a service comes out, they can pull their service truck in and work on it also. So I guess I don't know what else to add to that, so.
I'm going to add a little bit of what Dana was talking about as far as cost-wise. With my experience, some of you know I work for Concrete Materials / Sweetman Construction / Knife River. 8 years ago, we built a mechanic shop with a similar floor plan that's twice this size for $1.2 million. And I know we all have sticker shock with the prices that we're talking about with this, but every year, and Jeff may help me out with the numbers, but every year building costs go up. I'm figuring right now if we just go with our basic cost of living with our inflation at 8%, every year we wait to build the appropriate size building, it's going to cost another $80,000 onto that every year. And 2013, if you remember, we built the shed that's downtown right now, right next to Critters. And we outgrew that within just a couple of years. Now, I know that Jana has been on the board for several years. I was on the board for several years. Mike was part of CHRC helping build this town, and we needed it. This town needed to grow, but we have to build this city shop for what we're going to do for the future. We can't go cheap and in 2 or 3 years think back, well, now we got to add on to it. We got to add this, we got to add that. I say we build it now for, although we don't have all the equipment to fill this, we're going to need the equipment in 2 or 3 years. So let's build the shop the appropriate size that we need it for now, to build for the future, not for now.
I would ask, did any of you guys get a chance to go out and look at that lot and have any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was out there and, I mean, for, you know, what they were talking about with the, you know, the snow removal and stuff like that, this area, you know, last winter, the lot that they got is where they hauled all the extra snow from the city. And then in the spring, it melted, it was gone, and you don't have to worry about it. Whereas if that lot gets sold off, now we're gonna have to find someplace else to haul all the snow and it could be farther out, so now you're paying that much more mileage. Where this way, it's all in a controlled area, and it's all going on city ground, so there's no issues in the future that way too.
I've also had a chance to be on the site, just in the things that I've been doing out there. You know, I've been on most of the property out there. The site's got good slope. We got good drainage off to the side. The crew has already figured out how they want to orient the building on the site, to give best access and best use for the building. One of the things that was interesting to watch from my perspective was, you know, between Dana and Andy and Clayton, they had very good comments. Chad, for the most part, had, other than being involved, Chad was sort of the go-between. He was letting everybody else make their comments because of what their experiences were. So we're pretty comfortable with what we came up with as far as being something that's, you know, that will work for what it needs to do. As far as costs, I guess none of us are involved in that. I think Clayton was dealing with that. So I don't know what that number was.
And we're not asking council to vote tonight. I just wanted, after all the questions we had before, I just felt like we need people from town, independent, and people that have shops or been around them and would be better presented to the city.
Yep. I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
As far as coming up with something that would be appropriate for Crooks.
Well, I'd like to thank you guys. I would say, we'll put it on the agenda for next month. And hopefully vote and make a plan. But, with all the questions we had, and I think on the second page, you'll see they actually drew in some extra equipment that we'll probably need as the years to come. I know Mike was most concerned that we find ourselves 20 feet short or 40 feet short.
We did leave the end wall as expandable on the shop, on this building. So the wall opposite of where the offices are, has a mainframe, so it can be easily expanded.
Well, I think this is very helpful. Alan? you
Yeah,
have any-
we also went with, we're not gonna fence the whole thing. That's still correct, right?
I'm sorry?
We're not gonna fence the whole thing. We're just put gates at the
Right.
driveway going in. Yeah, which should be sufficient. So it's overall, it's a really good plan. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And, I don't know, you have anything to add, Clayton?
The only thing I thought about is when you referenced the cost of what would have been, you know, twice the shop size, the numbers that came in was including the price of the land, so whether or not you just had the land calculated into the dollar figure that the only thing that I could add to it, but other than it's kind of, in my opinion, not even a very big building to what's already being built out there. You know, 70 by 125 can get quite small on the inside after it gets occupied by the machinery that's going in here.
I appreciate that. I lost my train of thought. Do you have any questions, Jana?
No, I appreciate this. This is exactly what we were talking about because it was hard to envision or what you know, what the appropriate size was, what the layout would need to be. And so this is exactly what I think both Mike and I were looking for. And then I think my other question then is just, you know, the other thing we have to do is get an evaluation of our current property. You know, what's that piece of property worth, both the current city shop and then the old, I guess, old city shop, the original
Yeah.
city shop. So that would be the next step too. I mean, obviously, before we move forward, I'd like to know, but that will come into play because obviously we would be selling that. So,
All right, as long as, you guys are here, I'd like, to bring up and maybe a little discussion. We talked, Tobias and I did as a city, if we, the Crooks Development Corporation, if we bought the land and the building from them, and it's like, oh, you're not gonna take any bids? No, the Development Corp would take the bids, but I don't know if Jeff or Tobias can explain that there's a lot of red tape and extra costs that we'd be avoiding if they were the general contractor.
Yeah, public bidding certainly has cost tied to it because of what it costs the city to do that. There is some expense, just in administering what that is. Since it's a shop, it's a little less than if we were, building something a little more complicated. But if we were public bidding it, we would have to be considerably more detailed in what we were providing as far as what was going to be bid, which really is where your expense comes in. But if a private entity does it, it's just like anything else. They can build it and negotiate a cost to do that, where the city, your hands are held, but, with funding, how that's able to be done. So I guess in today's age, we almost always try and work with our generals and try and do things outside of the public bid market, just as expensive as money is right now.
Can you add to that, or do you want to? You don't have to.
I don't know what I can add.
Okay.
what's the process for selling? So like if we sell the current, is that just,
No, I mean, you would have to advertise for the sale, so you can either do public auction, you can do sealed bids. I mean, that's, the disposition of the asset is not quite as laborious
It's
as
complicated,
the
yeah.
bidding process. And, the whole extension here of the, economic development group, so that is all, above, there's not really a gray area there, like legally, we checked with legal, so you can do that. It's just at that end, however, if council wants to proceed, you just have to draw up the appropriate agreements and appropriate, have something in writing, because it is such a substantial project, and then not really see any issues there. I know Salem did that, or they are doing it. I don't know if they're done with their city shop, so it's certainly not uncommon to use that process.
Well, we'll just leave it at that, and for next, meeting, we'll get those evaluations done, and, if we can get those done in time and out, then maybe we can, also ask for a vote. I guess we'll, talk about that as we go, but we'll for sure get some evaluations, of the property. And of course, well, I mean, do we want to spend money right now for an actual appraisal? Or do you want a evaluation from a commercial, realtor, market evaluation? The one thing, the building wouldn't be sold until we would be
Right.
moved in.
I think just evaluation, because literally, right now, we have no idea. I don't know at all. I've heard a huge range of numbers.
Yeah.
So evaluation's fine for now, and then when it gets closer to, yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
My question would be on that, when you do that, if you put it out on sealed bids or auction, do you just have before you reject any bids?
I assume if we did sealed bid, yes, you would set a minimum. I guess I don't know, it's been a while since we've done anything that's not just surplus, but yeah, I would assume that we would set a minimum
Put
and,
it on that, and then,
yeah.
rather, I didn't know if you guys had the ability, or if there's had the ability to, this is what we, this is what it phrase that, this is what we want to get out of it, so you know how much you're getting to go for it.
Right. Yeah, because obviously that's a huge factor, right? Because how much you need to finance going and build this next shop. A lot of that depends on what we're going to be able to sell our current properties for. So, yeah, no, I would assume that there would be a minimum if we did the sealed bid. Even with an auction, I would assume that we would have the ability to.
Ooh, auction might
May
be.
not?
No, I don't think
So,
auction's quite that.
That'd be after discussion then how we would want to.
Well, I mean, and like I said, I didn't know, because I mean, in some auctions you go through, they have a reserve or something. where
Yeah.
they make reserve, it doesn't sell.
And I guess we'd have to probably look into that. Because, yeah, I wouldn't want to go into anything without setting some sort of
Yeah,
minimum.
you know, lose $100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, guys. And now is the time for open comments. I don't know if anybody here has anything to say or ask. Okay, we'll move on to public hearings. And the first one is a conditional use for oversized building on 501 Hannah Trail, Justin Bundy. And if you want to present what you got, or just say, I know you drew out on a piece of paper.
My hand drawing wasn't very good.
And Matt's here, your neighbor.
Yep, so we did go over the plan, so it's all good and bad as well. It's a 250 square foot shed, it's a little oversized for 200 square foot lot.
So 250 versus a 200, which is, and we've approved bigger ones, I think.
Yeah, so the size on the issue, so we got the application, I reviewed the application, the site survey, had a conversation with Justin about the conditional use that the city may put on it, and generally we'll use the conversation between the city and the homeowner, making sure that they fall in line with the ordinance. And not only that, but to clarify, because in that area there is some drainage setbacks, so we had a conversation about that, and also that once you get anything 201 or over, you have to match the architectural design of your home, so material and all that stuff, so, no issue, so I make a recommendation to approve from the planning board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Now we have a conditional use for a home-based business, 806 Executive Circle, Alexandria Basic. Is she here tonight?
No, she provided a written statement that is attached to the package.
She wants to operate an in-home daycare. Okay. Well,
She was gonna be state certified and all that.
I'll quick read it. Hello, I am unable to attend this meeting tonight. However, I'd like to say the proposal and some comments. Our community needs childcare, and I live in a cul-de-sac and I have a long driveway. Therefore, there will not be a lot of traffic. It will be a quick vehicle with a child in the morning and one at night. We have a park close by, which is Palmyra. We can walk to. Also, our cul-de-sac is where the majority of the neighborhood children play because it is not a through street. It is where kids feel safe. I also have 5 children of my own. When I posted in the Crooks page about this proposal, I got 46 families that messaged me. Obviously, I can't hold 46, but that shows how much it is needed here. I have a house that has a great layout for an in-home daycare center where we can learn and have a lot of fun. I will be state registered and follow all city and state requirements. And I believe there was a signed, memo from, Randy White also, who owns the house, giving permission for her to have the, daycare. So, is there a motion on that?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Jenny, utility,
Just a couple of things. In the last month, I wasn't at the meeting when we talked about water lines, but I dug up some old records and just for historical purposes, in 1999 was still the Crooks water and sewer. The city of Crooks took over in the fall of 1999. At that time, they were all Badger meters. Within the next couple of years, we switched from Badger to Neptune. And even after that switch would have been no later than 2003, the records show we still, even with brand new meters, showed a 24% loss every year, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. I'm just pulling out some old records. 1 year in 2008 was 18% loss. 2009, it was 16% loss. So I think this has been ongoing, even when the meters were brand new. I honestly don't know since we had a real water come in, check for leaks in all the mains, there weren't any. Jason has been very proactive, and he's switched out like about 13 meters so far, which we're gonna take to, Minneapolis Water. They would retest them for us to see if there is any pattern with the meters slowing down. But like I said, this was a problem even when the meters were new. So I can't quite get my head wrapped around what the problem is or what, since I wasn't here last month.
How many of those particular meters from when we took over are still out there? None. So all the meters have been replaced from the original.
They went from Badger to Neptune.
Okay.
You know, that was, I think within a couple of year period, from 2003, at least the fall of 2003, all the changing has been done. And it still shows that kind of loss, even with brand new meters in the system. So like I said, what we're doing at this point is we're pulling some, 13, 14 at a time. Sending them up, I've got a bunch down the pump house, I've got to take up the Minneapolis water, they would retest them. To see if there's a pattern of slowing down of the meters. And at this point, I want to make was, we had these kind of percentages of loss, even with brand new meters. So, that's what I've got to say about that. Yeah. Moving on, we did have a gas hit over the weekend, and we put in a new trail. One of the contractors did not say anything, but they had a gas line from one of the houses. We think it's what they were pulling up trees. The customer called on Sunday, and the gas, I went up and located the line. Jason came out with a machine that detects leaks on the ground. And when the Q3 was out there today, repairing it, thank goodness they didn't have to touch the new sidewalk. Somebody else was from drilling and steel and said, oh, you know, they were pulling out trees and stuff like that. They probably made it. Anyway, so that's what that's for you. And I think Tobias was talking about ENI water reading updates. So.
Yeah, let's speak about the water loss a little bit. So, been looking into it a little bit more. We're getting the daily readings now from MCWC, and then based on what we bill in the month, we figure out an average, deduct out the days at the end, so we can kind of get closer to it. So what that has done, it has actually reduced our water loss. So we're at 20.8% for 2022, and we're at less than 20 this year. So that is certainly optimistic and positive in that sense that we can, reduce those numbers or get a more accurate figure. So I think we're getting there now. The water loss is still above Danner standard. Right? That's
Which is what, 15?
15%. And did some looking at other towns. This was actually an issue that came up. There are towns that have less than 10% water loss. So, now, they all figure it differently, but it's just, there is some, I guess, room downwards, which is positive in that sense. So just it's something we're keeping an eye on and monitoring closely. So hopefully we can keep it, at a minimum under the 20%, or try to figure out how to keep it at under the 20%.
Do you take account of the water that's in the tower and in all the pipes? It hasn't run through?
Yeah, well, I deduct out the water that's in the pipes, so the 130,000.
The tower, okay.
A tower would be, what, another 100?
That's 110 feet tall. 180
Yeah.
tall. It's going up to 110.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm taking that into account. That still leaves us at about the 15, saying that the further you investigate, the better, quote unquote, the number is. In that sense, if you want to call it better, still.
I did explore another company that does leak loss for water, but since almost all of our water lines, mains are PVC, they can't do it. It's got to be, the cast iron ones, then they can be technically some sort of sonic. And maybe since our stuff is pretty much all PVC, they said their stuff didn't work. So like I said, something called Little Water was here for 3 days. And they did everything. We called each other on the Sunset Park. Went over the very next day, and there was no leak, so we figured it was somebody flushing the toilet, and then the shower, that lived in that vicinity that gave them the impression of a leak. So, and now, like I said, all we can do is, as we go on, just start replacing communities at a time and see if there seems to be a pattern.
So on that AMI water meter upgrade, is that a suggestion that we start a program?
So AMI is advanced metering infrastructure. What it is a beacon would be installed on the water tower, which then would be able to automatically read the meters from the office. Based on the meters we have, some meters can be read hourly, some are read daily. Some of them we can detect leaks, tampering. The other ones we just have like daily consumption. What it would involve, besides the beacon and so on, is putting a coax cable up there, electric. And what it would do is, right now we have about 457 meters on radio read. So we'll be able to read all of them from the office on the last day. So we'd have like a apple-to-apple comparison, so to speak, with the daily reading. Now, fortunately, it's cost-effective because we already have the infrastructure. We don't have to change any registers or so forth. And Ferguson approached us and said, "Hey, have you looked into this?" So we asked them to do a propagation study, which came back positive. I don't know if there were any issues with any properties of pulling in the read. So then they provided a quote just for one part. I didn't want to get more quotes than necessary unless you guys were interested in like getting a whole picture for the cost. On the Ferguson side, it will cost $14,000 for the module. And then we'd have to get quotes from, I would assume, Alliance for the data, for the coax cable, and then from an electrician to get it installed.
This gives you real-time monitoring into it?
Yep, you can monitor everything. Concurrently with this, you can also provide more detail to the customer as in a form of a website where they can look up their own usage. So when you have, let's say, a testy customer that doesn't believe that they've used it, it's like, well, here you can log in. I mean, it would just be, it's just something that looked into and for your consideration, let's put it this way.
I like the fact that it will show that the meters are tested. Somebody takes a register ahead also, if they happen to know how to do it. They either pick up anybody, because then you're not saying anybody. I like that it offers a lot of hooks to a system that we already have in place in the home.
Are all the meters now on radio read or no?
Majority of them are.
Okay.
I think you've got, I don't know,
70s.
Less than 50 at this
Oh.
point, but we still have to change out to radio read. And yes, the man will go house to house, but the majority at this point, yes. are radio read. So it would just be using the same numbers, the same company, just putting something on the water tower, and there you go. She did say, because there are some meters that when I drive by and read, are difficult to read. Like there's a lot of fir trees in front of the house, like Jim Van Hyke's house, for instance. I had to pull his driveway to get his read. And they said if there was a basement with a lot of stuff around the meter, that we might have to put a little antenna on it. But there are, we might eliminate some of the difficulty I have in driving around just to pick up the read. I'm not picking on Jimmy, but that was just one particular that I had to pull his driveway to get the read because of the fir trees.
And are we doing the same thing with the gas reads? We don't, so we don't have any radio reads on there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so would we be able to put a,
The thing is with gas, we have rented two. If we were to put something on here, it would not pick up one.
yeah,
It would just pick up Crooks. Because we explored that, because with Brenner, we can go up 10 miles from here. A lot of Nixon valleys, I can leave only Brenner like a little over an hour for gas.
sure.
Because there's some areas like Packer Lane, for instance, it's in the valley, a lot of trees. And if you drive, I physically drive down Packer Lane to pick up. And what I've heard from census is the fact that we go 10 miles out with gas.
Yeah.
It,
But it would make it easier for the customers in Crooks if they're wiring that up or putting that stuff up there to
Yeah, I mean, it provides more
include the
information.
infrastructure
Yeah.
to put gas up there eventually, if that's what we
Yeah.
choose to do.
Yeah, we just have to approach census and see how that will be implemented for Crooks, because it is a different, I guess, frequency, for lack of better terms.
I'd like to proceed with quoting the rest out because I feel like water's been
Yeah, so.
a hot topic from both sides. I mean, both from the city perspective and from the customer's perspective too.
So there are a few meters in the system, about roughly 32, that the meters need to have a certain sequence in front of them. The majority of ours start with 1.5, which allow us to get the hourly, tamper, leak, and so forth. There are some that start with a 10, some with a 14. Those only provide daily data, so they would have to be replaced at some point, but it would still, that'd be down the road, I think. They would still, though, provide daily consumption, so you would still get that kind of data. Just
those are the ones that Jason can replace it. The
Pardon
ones
me?
that are 5, so they're only-
Yeah, but there, you still have some with 10 and 14, that start with 10 and 1.4.
Well, yeah, that would still, they have to be.
Yeah.
Regularly, those are the ones that.
There would also be, yeah, there would be AMI, they just wouldn't provide as much
Yeah,
data.
and as you go along, it has to put
Yeah.
registers, gets in the homes, and put registers on them.
Good.
They automatically go to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's a win-win, and $14,000 is.
That's just for the AMI upgrade. There's also still electrician and others, so I'll try to get the whole quote and then just have that ready for November. Another thing we've been developing is a meter replacement policy that was discussed at last month's meeting, so fleshed out a first draft, read into the residential meter lifespan at 17 to 20 years for the mechanical ones. It'll be a little more thorough, probably take more detail in order to really implement that, because there is a break-even point of how much you want to put into meter replacement. Where do you want to start? So I'm just going to sit down with Jason and Ginny just to get their thoughts, polish it a little bit. So generally, these meters, even after decades, will go to 95. And what is generally recommended is once they are below the 95% threshold, you start replacing them, because at that point you are losing water in too high of a rate, and that's the general consensus, what I've read so closely.
Yeah, from Ferguson did tell me that. A lot depends on the water quality. She's seen several meters, water meters the last 30+ years. And she's a salesman who selling us and stuff. She said a lot has to do with the water quality. And she felt MCWC has good quality. We have a system, a lot of hard water in there. And like I said, I asked her about replacement. She goes, there's a lot of them that are 30+ years old. So I don't think it's something we have to rush into, but I think as we go along, like you said, Jason's already got first one in place, we're gonna have them tested, and just keep going down the line. And supply is an issue too, we always said, oh, let's replace all meters. Sometimes it takes me months to get shutting the meters in. So it is a supply issue too, with water and gas. I think we're doing all we can at this point, try to even down this water loss, and be proactive and changing a few, keeping an eye on the ones that we think are too problematic and change. And that's all I know.
So back to my statement with the addendum, close in tandem is meter testing before you replace. So most conservative step is that. So.
Thank you.
Okay, pay application for the sanitary sewer expansion and change order number 3. And, I don't know if Jake or Tobias, I hate to make Jake.
Oh, it's all right, I'm getting the hang of it after about a week here, but, yeah, so I was hoping we'd have signed versions from H&W, tonight, we unfortunately did not. This is the last pay app and balance change order for the main lift project that's been dragging out here. So hoping to finally close the book on that one. So we can either delay till November, or we could consider, having the council approve and then authorize the mayor to sign once we do get that copy from H&W, if and when, I guess. So that way, if we get it in a week, possibly a month, we can do it at that time. Sure, you can answer any questions.
So for this change order 3, is this, I see on the pay application, there's $46,500 in liquidated damages. On change order 3, one of the changes they're making is changing the completion date.
So that was done with actually change order number 2 or 1, whichever one we added the dirt work in. And that didn't change the, oh wait, no, that was the East Side project.
Yeah.
So, no, I guess I'm looking at the change order sheet, and it says no change to the dates there. Still the same.
Yeah, date says no change.
Okay, I got you.
So the change is just a $21,000 increase
No.
from the original price.
So what change order 3 is the balancing change order, so that's, as built quantities, that's essentially making it whole, so that way our final contract price is the actual amount due. And then the 46,000 is taken out of the total that was made with change order number 3.
Do you have any issues, Tobias, if we approve contingent about receiving the final, just to not delay it anymore?
No, I'm fine with it. It just needs to just get closed out with due
Yeah,
haste.
I know we want to
But
close it, so.
That's the key part. That way it can go into repayment, hopefully, next year.
And we're working diligently to try to get this closed out. It's been quite painful, as you know, but, we're headed in the right direction.
Do you need 2 separate approvals, one for the pay up and one for the change order, or can it be done in one?
Yeah, just a one motion, approve it.
So I'll make a motion to approve the pay app 6 and final, and then change order 3, contingent about receiving the signed documents from H&W.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried. And, as you all know, we've been, working on a water tower for close to a year. And, they're starting to work on plans and specs and so on, but we have never signed an agreement with DGR for the whole project.
Yeah, so we have a master engineering services agreement, as you guys know, so this is a same process as other projects, a task order to that agreement. specific to the scope of the project. As Butch mentioned, this scope, he actually goes back in time to last fall when we were doing funding applications and facilities plans. This just formalizes it as we continue through design, bidding, construction, and so on. No, I see it. Probably could have got it to you sooner and just. Certainly, you will answer questions there. This is the same scope and fee that was reflected on the funding application and that was funded with the package from March.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. And, I guess that's it. We'll go to economic development and Mike.
SMGA announced last week they have a new CEO. I've got a meeting with him on Thursday to meet him. So I'm looking forward to that. A little over a week ago, they had the SMGA put on a housing conference over in Brandon. It was really well attended. And I was a speaker on one of the panels that went over really well. So it's amazing to me when you look at what SMGA serves, the neighboring counties as well, how many of them are starting to look at a similar pathway that we did to get housing going. So my phone has been ringing off the hook since then of people asking questions on how the hell we did what we did. So it's been interesting, but it's about all I got.
Okay, we'll get to streets, and Sophie Johnson from CCOG is here, and she's going to talk about the safe streets and roads for all.
Hi, thanks for having me tonight. I just wanted to say I was at the conference and Mike did a really nice job with his presentation.
I didn't have to pay her for that at all.
Today I wanted to talk to you about a grant opportunity that you may or may not be interested in. It's called the Safe Streets and Roads for All, and it's a federal grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation. And this grant was made with the bipartisan infrastructure law. The first sort of round of funding was last year. We just weren't ready at that time, but we're looking forward this year. Or sorry, the first round was in 2022. We're looking forward in this year. And what we would like to propose is CCOG, we have membership from 6 counties in this area. So we have McCook, Clay, Turner, Union, I'm missing one, Lincoln. Yeah. Who else did I miss? Minnehaha, thank you. The one I missed. So we have 6 counties and all those municipalities within those counties. And we sent out a feeler, like, is this something that you might even be interested in? And based on that, we got responses from 15 communities and 3 counties. And what the grant would do is we would hire a consultant on behalf of the participating communities, and they would do like a safety assessment in your community. And the reason we're proposing this is because we think it'd be a little more competitive than just like Crooks applying for the grant, but you are certainly welcome to do that. Lincoln County actually applied by themselves this time around, or last year, and then if they don't get it, they would apply with the next cohort. The grant is an 80-20 cost share. And so the purpose of the grant, as I said, is to prevent deaths and serious injuries on our roadways. So it would just be assessing Crooks' safety and transportation. And so this would be the planning grant. And then there's opportunity in the future for the implementation grant. And so based off of what the study says, then we could maybe apply for some funding to do whatever the study suggests. So what an implementation grant is what they call it, but what that might fund, you're not going to get a new road, sorry. You might get a sidewalk or 2, rumble strips, high friction surface treatments, lighting, signage, those types of things, safety measures. Like I said, the applications are due in July of 24, but I wanted to talk with communities about it now because if you're interested, it would require a match. And this is sort of a hard to figure because it's based on how much we want to pay for the study and then how many communities ultimately want to participate. So we've kind of told, and I'll back up in that we don't want a Crooks to pay the same as a Sioux Falls or county. So we tried to give estimates to communities proportionately by their class category, their municipality category. So for Crooks, 500 to 5,000 class 2 municipality, we're estimating $2,500 to participate in the study, but that could obviously change if people drop off or if more communities want to participate, it would decrease the match amount. Do you guys have any questions I can answer?
Do you know as if they get to the implementation portion, will that be a similar matching?
No, I don't know that. That's a
Okay.
good question. I can follow up with Tobias on that.
And then if we, in order to get in on the implementation portion, do we have to participate on the planning portion?
You have to have a plan.
Yeah.
So they did award, I think they awarded 37 implementation grants last year, but I'm assuming that's because they already had something in the works, a planning document. They awarded 511 communities in fiscal year 22, and 474 of those were the action plan grants, and only 37 were the implementation grants. And we are proposing this structure because we've seen a lot of other communities do it this way. I think Kentucky, they went through their regional planning organization, and almost all the state was awarded some funding. And then I think Iowa did it like this too. I think all of Iowa was awarded in some capacity. So for me, tonight, I don't need anything from you, unless Tobias, you had something else in mind, but this was more just food for thought. And when we get closer to July of next year, we'll reach out and see if people are still interested.
Is it for the whole city or for like just the main street going through Crooks?
I think if this would be for the whole city, or it's really whatever you guys want them to look at.
So for $2,500, we get what, 4 hours of the research time, or we get a whole day or a week?
Sorry, 2,500.
Isn't that what you said it cost for the planning stage to have them come out? To be part of the planning stage is $2,500?
That would be your portion of the match. So we're estimating that, like, conservatively, the whole study would be $250,000. And then collectively, we have to come up with 20% of that. And so what that would be for Crooks is $2,500.
So how long would they be in the town to plan?
That I don't know. We would hire an engineer and a transportation engineer, and so that's outside my scope.
Okay.
I'm assuming we would determine what we'd want that engineer to focus on.
Yeah.
Right?
Then why would we need them?
Because we don't have the expertise to drop a implementation grant. Well, I'm talking like, I guess my focus would be
The school area, obviously.
the school, yeah.
I mean, we can say, hey, we'd like crosswalks here, and I need to pay an engineer to say, you should put white strips.
Well, but if you want to get on, if you want to get in on the implementation where the money to actually fund it, you've got to have some kind of planning document that we don't have the capacity to create on our own. That
I
would,
think the best comparison is the pre-disaster mitigation grant. Like that would be the most similar one. Although we didn't pay anything, we have to participate, otherwise we're never eligible for the storm shelter, for example, or the generator. So sometimes you just
You pay to play.
bite the bullet to participate. Plus, this was mentioned multiple times here by council that this is something that you guys were interested in. Where safe streets, safe roads, school and everything coming. So that's why I asked the Sophie to come out here to talk about it. Because, I guess I could have read you the email, but that would have been, yeah.
And I'm not offended if you don't want to participate, but just wanted to make everyone aware of the opportunity and.
So you need to know by when?
You probably won't reach out till early 24th, it's not due till July of next year, so. You guys can continue to have conversations about it.
So our 20% would be 20.
Roughly.
That's, yeah, big asterisk on that, depending on if more communities want to jump on or more fall off. And if, a critical mass says they don't want to do it, we could apply just for Crooks, but again, I don't know how competitive that is. I know Box Elder actually received funding for this. They're the only community in South Dakota that did that I'm aware of.
Anybody have any questions for Sophie?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Okay, slurry seal second pay app.
So this is just the 10% that was withheld from the first application. They came out and oiled the spots they needed to their satisfaction, so this would essentially close out the contract.
So all the corrections have been made to satisfaction? Move to approve.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion carried. Scott, P and Z.
Okay, we met September 18th jointly with the city council to review the application for rezone and this preliminary subdivision plan submitted by UWP for the development of the south of the school, and that was approved unanimously. That was our last meeting. We've been offline, we've been doing a lot of approval for setbacks on new buildings, houses, conditional use permits, so just nothing too crazy in the hopper right now. Everything should slow due to the weather.
Thank you. Alan, government building?
Yeah, we already covered the shop stuff, but I'm going to let you guys know, I think we'll be implementing two-factor authentication into most our applications and our web applications and our emails. So you guys will have to get a code. It'll send the code to your phone when you log in, just to make sure that we're keeping people out and stopping some of this emails and crap that are coming through. That's about it.
Mike on parks?
Well, everything's winding down. Flag football's done. Know a few of you got up there for flag football Super Bowl a couple weeks ago. It was a madhouse as usual. That's pretty incredible. Living where I do, to see the steady stream of traffic going through the gas station and everything else. That is definitely a big deal for our community. So other than that, things are wrapping up. We do have the fall cleanup scheduled coming up, so that's about it.
Okay, Jana on finance.
Tobias, Sarah, Mayor Osby, myself met with the auditor last week. No surprise, it was a great audit. Nothing but positive comments. The only thing we ever get really dinged on is something that the auditor is very honest about, that we will be dinged on it forever because of the size of our town, but it always has to do with separation of, or what do they call it, Tobias? Balance? Segregation. Segregation of duties. He said basically unless you had 10 people in finance, you're never going to meet that. He's like, very few cities in the entire state meet that because we're just not a big enough community, and they're very strict about segregation of duties. So it was a very good audit. General fund, we're still kind of waiting to hear about, the only thing that we may have to subsidize or supplement is that 211, which is the economic development for the new sign, but we're kind of waiting to hear what that's going to be, and that hasn't changed from last month. Starting to do supplemental appropriations, so we'll see more of that probably at the December meeting, Tobias?
Probably December.
Just because we're getting close to year end, so we have to do supplemental appropriations to equal our expenses within the new different budget categories. Expenditures are expected levels of function. We'll probably have to see some supplements on engineer street lighting, but we'll see that next month. Expenditures on track for the year. Revenues are expected levels in our general fund. Slurry seal, we already talked about that. It's been completed. Water fund, major outflow obviously for any engineering costs with the water tower, but nothing unusual. If we go forward with the AMI upgrade, obviously that would be one major outflow yet this year on the water fund. Water loss, we already talked about that. We're still, for the gas fund, we're still getting some bills on that, correct, Tobias, for the moving of the, or are we done?
I expect there's gonna be one bill left.
One bill
for
left.
the 258 DRS, right?
What, down here?
Yeah,
I think that's what we did.
Well,
but we haven't been billed for it, is what.
I'm thinking the fencing.
Well, the fencing,
Yeah.
that's to come.
Yeah, that'll be the one, otherwise.
Okay, and obviously we just talked about closing out the H&W, so that would be the closeout for,
There might be a kayak check that needs to be cut this year. Northern sent over the first draft agreement for the additional capacity, and our share is $163,000. So waiting to hear back from Patrick on the agreement, and then I'll reach out to them.
okay.
That was the only other development.
And then sewer fund, just making sure we always remember that there's a large portion of that cash balance that has to be set aside specifically for the 2 projects that we had in the past. I think that was it.
Have we locked in anything for the gas rates for this year?
Yeah.
And have we talked to Garrettson?
No, not yet.
What did you, oh, if we talked to Garrettson, is that what you asked? Okay.
I started the retrieving of the cost, but spoke to Ginny about it. So we have some cost, but the biggest cost for the larger size line is the assumed risk that the city of Crooks is bearing, and that's where the decatherm charge comes from. We have about roughly $5,000-6,000 worth of pipeline maintenance, but when it comes to if something goes wrong, we're on the hook for it. So that's why we wanted to segue into that with a not cost prohibitive number. I'll probably best discuss them in executive session.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Code enforcement,
Patrick has been working his magic. He got a summary judgment in 100 Southwest Avenue by Judge Ron Holman, and they have October 31st to clean up any nuisances that comes as applies to what we see outside. I just had to provide him pictures. We did all the legwork in there, so the place has to be cleaned up by October 31st, or else we hire the same guy we hired every year to go in and clean it. It has been looking good. And he's, some other stuff around that home and the property. So I think he's been in conversation that there's been letters back and forth for families aware of the condition of the outside of the property as well. So, yeah, because something like so that's all right.
Did they get in to inspect the inside of that house?
No, they denied us entrance. They were here, and we actually sat down, Jeff, Matt, and I. By sheer coincidence, she was here. Oh, they're her partner, and we asked her, and she goes like, no. So then we talked with her a little bit about the interior and tried to see, Matt and Jeff tried to see if there was anything that would, indicate that there are some issues, but also it's pretty, no details were proffered, so we relayed that back to Patrick, and he is working on paperwork for an inspection warrant. That's
Okay.
at least my last status of talking to him about it.
Can I ask just an update or what so the Our Lady of the Snow property, the building was demolished,
Yep.
correct? But was the land sold or it's still owned by the church? As far as we know, that
It has not been sold.
it has not been sold. Okay.
I mean, I don't know, last I heard is their phones were disconnected, that's the last thing I heard, so that's why no one got a hold of them.
Because the building's down, but now the property looks terrible because it's,
Yeah.
so I was just curious if anybody knew the status of that lot or if it's sold or if the church still owned it or
They do.
they do. Okay.
So either they gotta sell it or fail to meet their tax.
Whose phones are
obligation,
disconnected?
right?
The churches?
Yeah.
Like our former contact?
Yeah, that's
Oh.
like, well, because people called here, they're like, well, I'm trying to reach the church, I'm like, oh, it's their phone number, they're like, well, it's been disconnected, I'm like.
Oh.
Maybe just a slight hiccup in paying the phone bill, who knows? But, hard bunch to get a hold of.
I do know that it is working currently,
Okay.
the phone.
Anything else? Okay, second reading of ordinance, 33333, sales tax refund. And this is an ordinance of the city of Crooks, South Dakota, establishing provisions for the refund of retail sales and use tax.
Somebody needs to explain this one to me.
The city is establishing essentially the discretion that where individuals or companies are making a $1+ million infrastructure improvement in town, that they're eligible for some of those costs in the form of a refund.
Doesn't guarantee it. It just,
Infrastructure or an actual building?
$1 million worth of improvements, so we're talking. Yeah, improvements or new construction within the boundaries, so they have to put in $1 million, either a new building or
$1 million
existing.
improvement to an existing.
And then they're eligible for sales tax?
They can ask.
Yeah, they can ask. So it's only the 2%, and it's not 100% destructured with the agreement that would have to be drawn off
2%.
2% of what?
of the sales tax for the
We get
materials they're
2%
purchasing. So
of
the
the
city
6.5.
bills 2% on sales tax. So you would then refund a percentage of that, of the sales tax that they were assessed on their purchases.
And I would also say,
So with $1 million, they get 20 grand back? Is that
No,
what
they
we're-
get,
Two grand?
well, they get back what the city agrees to return to them.
they'd have to come and ask.
Okay,
Might
let's say
give
they
them a
give them
half
ask and
percent or
agree.
1%. Usually it's split in half if they do it. Sioux Metro Growth Alliance has promoted this and has other cities that have done it. It's, we can have it on the books or not have it on the books.
Explain to me how that's not $20,000.
Because the agreement structure is what they get refunded. So if it's only a percent of what they pay, so
So
it's
what if
not,
they agreed to 2%? What
the
if
city
we,
council has to agree to that.
so if we all agreed, they'd get 20 grand back?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, on $1 million.
If they spent $1 million
But they
building.
only can get it if they do spend $1 million.
Yeah, and they have to
Correct.
prove
So
that
if they spend $2
spent-
million on building a new,
Yeah, you can cap that. That's the nice thing. A minimum of $1 million, then they come to the city. And then there's, first of all, first the approach will be the city council, whether or not you're interested in even granting this, right? This is like this is
right,
a
I'm trying to
discretion.
understand it before we grant it.
Yeah, so puts discretion at the city council level. So if someone says, oh, I'm putting in $1 million, then you look at the project and say, oh, well, yes or no.
So say someone puts up a $3 million building, so it has to be a business or $3 million in improvements, or it's just anything?
Well, it has to be for
Commercial.
commercial business
Commercial.
activity.
So basically, this would benefit places like the daycare. So if the
Daycare.
daycare puts up $1 million
Daycare
building.
wouldn't be,
The daycare would not go.
No, but, cause they're gonna make a
So what would it be
$1 million
like?
building.
It would
But
be
if it
the
was
senior
something like
citizen
that-
living apartments that are gonna be over here, the gas station, any new business, right?
Separate.
Yeah.
Anything over $1 million. So this,
it's basically an incentive.
Yeah.
So SNG, we first heard about this from I first heard about it from Toby Morris, because this is what was it Harrisburg?
Harrisburg did it, Yankton.
Harrisburg was a big one that did it.
Businesses
But-
to come and build. We
But it
can
still puts
get
the
But we can say this is.
onus on us, because we can sit there and deny
If it's
anything they
big
request.
shopping malls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, they'll come in.
for 2%.
Though, I know, but we'd give them 2% back to build here, but then we'd make that money off all that
And you
sales.
never get the full 2%
Right,
back.
in order to lower. No,
You never give the full 2%
No,
back?
No, but
Tobin
if he
Moore
had
said
a.
never.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's
I'm
like,
just
at
saying,
most, you
this
do
is just
40
an
or 50%.
incentive. It's gonna
The
be-
very
it's gonna
high end, the
be-
high CC is 75%. And
Of the 2%.
the key part with this ordinance is like the city's in the driver's seat, city can say no. It's only if this does not enumerate anyone with this does not create a property right for a business
Right.
to say, hey, we did this, pay us. And there's also, I mean, whether or not you grant it, there's a lot of documentation required. You can't just show up and say, okay.
Oh, I built a
this is
$1 million
what I spent.
building, yeah.
So we probably see voided checks, invoices, all of that. And then it's capped up based on time. And, like I said, either percentage or amount, you can say, well, first X amount of dollars, this is what your refund, or just say no.
What did you say, Toby said he,
I talked to Tobin Morris months ago. We spoke about this because, so you can, this is really, the intent here is capital infrastructure, and other towns don't do ordinances, they just do agreements when they have, their local economic development group would say approach city council, mayor says, hey, we have this business who wants to locate to Crooks, and then they do it either by agreement. The ordinance just is more of a formal way of doing it. You can just do it by agreement too. I mean, whatever you're most comfortable with. I drew this up because I was tasked with drawing it up, and I think it's a good ordinance, and this is not uncommon. Other towns do it. The nice thing is, it puts the responsibility on the person who wants to claim this to reach out to the city and say, hey, is this something you'd be willing to consider? And then you have the ability to say yes or no. And the amount is purposefully high because you want them to have skin in the game. You actually want to make sure that this is an opportunity. Another thing I would say is that you do this for investments that are done not in areas that are already incentivized by other mechanisms.
right?
To make that very clear that this is not, an opportunity then to quote unquote double dip, for lack of better terms. This is, someone buys a lot.
So if it was a TIF area, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I would say, if someone asked, I'd be like, no, because there's already the, pledging of property tax receipts.
Okay, move to approve.
A second.
Any other discussion on it? All those in favor, aye?
Roll
Aye.
call.
Aye.
Oh,
Roll
oh,
call.
yeah,
call.
just a second.
Arstead,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Fire.
Aye.
Shooty.
Say,
Okay, second reading of ordinance 334, and that's to rezone, an ordinance of the city of Crooks, South Dakota, providing that certain real property within the city of Crooks, South Dakota be rezoned. If you look at the second page, if you have it, it's what DWB, at the last meeting came, they wanted to increase the area of the commercial general business and decrease the area of the multifamily / assisted living.
So there's no change from the first,
No.
no change? Okay.
The traffic study came back, all right.
Yeah, so as going back to that joint meeting, another conversation, wanted to see a traffic memo prior to the second reading. That was submitted last week, passed along to Tobias. And then myself, Pat, and JSA, and John, the traffic engineer, had a good conversation this afternoon. To talk through kind of the format and the findings of that report. In really short, it all is well. The findings were supportive of the layout. A couple of big ticket items, if you will, or some of the highlights are that Assuming a full build-out scenario, the Willowtree Bridge, a left turn lane and right turn lane from West Avenue to Diane Street is warranted by traffic volumes. That's not a surprise when you take into consideration all the commercial and, housing that's gonna be there. It just kind of solidifies that thinking, so that'll have to be kind of on the forefront, not necessarily today, but, moving forward. The direct access proposed on West Avenue, is in an adequate location based on queue length, so that 300-foot spacing that we kind of required, initially is right at kind of where that minimum need is what we're expecting and, why we asked that at that time. And then the other kind of intersection implication that we looked at with more specifics was the first access location on Diane west of the highway. And that one is in the queue area, if you will, or upstream effective area. So, kind of if both the school and this development were in the same boat where they were yet to be constructed, we'd maybe consider moving that access farther west. But because the school one is already constructed and this one's proposed to line up, it's recommended in a traffic study that they continue to align to avoid an offset intersection where in a left turn lane you would have, kind of that head-on scenario. So, when they're aligned, you can kind of yield to each other or turn in front of each other, whereas if you're offset, you kind of grab head-on conflict. And then kind of another short-term recommendation was to actually strike the center turn lane on Diane Street all the way through the commercial, once that gets built out, and then not allow parking on Diane Street through that section, because you have, your two through lanes and then your center turn lane. There was a couple more scenarios that HDR looked at following our meeting, as it kind of related to more left-hand movement coming out of Diane Street, because that's kind of what we found was the controlling movement, if you will. That's going to be the one that's more prone to backups that would, when I say complaint on. So they took an extra conservative approach on that. Ran through those this afternoon. Those numbers came back and still said, it's adequate as is. What's going to change some of that is if the intersection ever gets signalized, which we're talking years and years down the road. But at that time, both the direct access on West Avenue and that access west of the highway would likely be in that queue length and be subject to kind of the red and red out scenario, which was also discussed previously. Pat was a part of that conversation, you considered adding anything that I might have missed, but that's kind of my summary from what HDR provided there.
I don't have anything further to add unless you have some questions. Okay. I think the premise of it is that the traffic study supports, what they're proposing. There's not any red flags that were, might have been initially overlooked. Even in that regard, the study was a little bit conservative in that, it assumed all the commercial traffic was using Diane Street to access and not the direct access. So, taking that into consideration, it's a little conservative at the Diane Street, but we just really want to focus on that intersection, and that's going to be focused on more or less. As it kind of relates to moving forward, like I said, no red flags with what's being proposed from a land use perspective based on the study. We're still need to work with DEPs when JSA provides. We'll do our review, and we'll likely
add in some comments with that, traffic report and our DEP review, but it's gonna be more of the same as what I just, kind of talked about here. Next approval, if you will.
Their motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Armstead,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Fire,
Aye.
Shooty.
Alright. Okay, resolution 2023-16, annexation of, upon receipt of voluntary annexation, and, this is the parcel right across the street that would include the Veterans Memorial and the water tower
Correct.
together.
That legal description is for both those parcels. We're proposing to do it in this order, so that way we can plat it. It plats to the city of Crooks and not in county. The water tower parcel is less than 1 acre, so the county's not gonna consider that, legal, if you will, parcel in their eyes. So if we annex it first, then the plat is approved by the city and not the county instead of the vice versa, which ultimately we're getting the same, there.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? Need roll call.
You can if you want to, but you don't have to.
Go ahead.
Okay, Armstead,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Fire,
Aye.
Shooty.
Okay, resolution 2023-17, a resolution of the council of the city of Crooks, South Dakota to amend resolution 2023-07. Tobias, could you?
Yeah, so the language on the commercial section for building permits is confusing. It adds a stipulation that says essentially, as well as all finished work, painting, roofing, electrical, plumbing, heating, air conditioning, elevators, fire extinguishing system, and other permanent equipment exclusive of site improvements and parking lots cost. Talked to Jeff. I was like, well, no one spreads it out. It's all one project. It should all be on the permit because it all will have to be inspected or in one way or another considered. When you look at the residential portion, this essentially makes it align with that. The resident, when they come in for a permit, they get billed based
So
on the
basically,
size.
you're saying total value,
Yeah,
and you're not
total
saying they're
value.
mentioning all those
Yeah,
things.
not like, oh, here and this and this and this. Also, by site improvements and parking lots, so Jeff and I were chewing the fat on that. So if you build a separate parking lot, is that how you're supposed to read it? And what's the site improvement? It just, the moment you do construction work, permit fee it is. So this just cleans that up.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All same sign, motion carried. Resolution 2023-18, a resolution of the city of Crooks, South Dakota to amend resolution 2023-07.
The city charges a 20% plan review fee. We have that covered with Jeff. This is essentially saving 20% immediately on any commercial projects for anyone. So,
So you're doing what, you're removing that? Or what?
yeah, because right now, Jeff, he does all of our plan reviews. So right now, when someone comes in for a commercial permit for like where it involves a plan review, extra 20% right there on the permit, because we used to send it to.
Oh, because we
to
have
the
Jeff
guys.
now is what you're saying?
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
with Jeff, it's all covered.
Yep.
Rather than extra.
So on, our zoning, I want to thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion carried. And Mike,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Nay.
We'll officially record that.
I just wanted to deny somebody something.
Meeting adjourned.
I need to sign a bunch of stuff.
Mike, I know that, a year or so ago.
It's a lot of paper.
But all of those,
What's that?
you know, really makes sense to throw everything recycling bin.
So one,
Yeah, well, so,
No, yeah, it's just,
no,
As long as we maintain the authority of it.
yeah.
yeah, and one thing, when I spoke to other cities, they don't advertise this.
Sure.
Like this is on the books, yeah.
It would have to be a pretty big deal to get here and for us to waive.
Oh, and when you read through it, it's like.
And they would have to be returning that money somehow, like selling something, like a car dealership.
I asked the guys at SNPA because like Harrisburg has done. So far, the only one that they granted it to is Fairway.
Yeah.
And like that was in Yankton, they granted it to Menards, so it is like, it was like so sizable, and when you read it, it's for materials, right?
Yeah.
It's and equipment and furniture, it's not just, oh, labor and all that, it's just like, here's my project, so, oh wow.
Hey, did you upload any of those?
No, my last month was a whole shit show, so I will.
Okay,
You have
cool.
my word,
All right, appreciate you.
yeah.
Have a good day.
Yep, you're the same, man.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Eric.
I never thought
Oh,
about.
thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the office? No, it's for future expansion. I'm trying to get them out.
No, I'm not saying the whole office, I'm saying, yeah, you, Jenny, Chad, Jason,
Yeah.
Pat here.
Well, and
That makes you a
Sarah
lot more
and
room.
Matt.
What, that just means you, Sarah?
No, Sarah and Matt both can go too. They can share an office
Well,
up
that's
there.
the thing.
Yeah.
You don't wanna be the sole person in that office.
Uh,
You don't wanna be
oh.
with all the, you
Well,
gotta be Sarah.
I dealt with a person today, they got angry with me. So she goes, who's servicing gas on 255th? I'm like, it's not us. She goes, 255th Avenue by Garrettson, you know, Highway 115.
She's in here asking that?
No, she called.
Oh, okay.
And then she gets angry with me. She goes like, what do you actually do in the office? Like, what's your job title? I'm like, say, you don't know a lot. I'm like, okay.
Well, you knew the answer.
Well,
She just didn't like your answer.
well, it was like, and 3 calls, and then apparently she's buying a house here in Crooks, and she just comes unglued at me on the phone. I was like, who are you? And, well, she was just angry that the gas hadn't been installed because the home is not finished. So, you know, Jenny's like final grade and all that. It was like a bizarre conversation. And then Jenny was, it was just like, wow. And then when she never gave me her name. And then she goes, so she gives me her email and she goes, do you even know what my name is? It says like Mel Donnelly, like in your email. She goes like, no. I'm like, never mind that. God.
Hey, is Pat Baker?
That's all
own
right.
the house on-
Yep, on East 4th Street.
Okay, because we were driving by there, so I wanted to see. the house.
Pat Baker. She owns a house on East 4th Street.
I looked at the house, and then the house next to it, it says it's owned by Pat Baker, and it threw me off. I'm like, oh, I didn't know Pat owned the house.
Yeah.
Is there any, I know that we don't have the equipment for it,
Yeah.
but the transition on East Fourth where it goes from. Town to
Yeah.
Apple,
It's bad.
that is, like, somebody's gonna lose a transmission over there.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
I mean, it's,
And we had an emergency call up the high on 472, so we go out that way, and like, even my our F-550,
oh,
I thought I was gonna lose a front tire.
No.
We went over that, I had some speed.
really.
We could dump a load or two of gravel to transition back to the asphalt.
I mean, I get it, that it's being used a lot again because of.
I really think, we gotta come up with a plan to get that blacktop. That's not fair for those
Oh, you turn off that.
Oh, I agree.
To leave him sitting like that. And,
I agree.
Yeah, well, and this has been like talked about for, I mean, since